Shalom, giving all praise going on to Yahweh, Baal Shem, Yahweh Shai, Baal Shem, Makakadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, a great millstone, do well, peace, love, and blessings. All right, to the elect, starting with you brothers on the highways and byways, making your bodies a living sacrifice, giving all diligence to make your calling and election sure. All right, and also, the 1/3 that consists of you men, women, and children. All right, that the body of believers that's also looking for and hasten to the coming of our Lord Yahweh Shai as that time draws near. All right, we're in that time. So, of course, we're looking at this Third World War. All right, the Watchmen. All right, because this is the war to end all wars. Right, and as we can see, from the reports that basically the U.S. is defeated. Okay, we ain't talking about mainstream media. We talking about alternative news. Okay, because when you look on mainstream media, all Trump saying is, "Oh, we're winning." They're begging me for a deal. They want to talk this, that, and third. But when you go to all the alternative media, all right, it's the complete opposite. They're losing, running out of ammunitions, all right, and running out of targets because Iran has prepared for this war for many years, all right, decades, okay, for this exact war. So I probably title this, basically a World War III update because, it's the fun part of this thing, man. As the elder said, you got to have fun. And just going into the logistics of everything, the details and how Iran is doing it. All right, different strategies of war, so on and so forth. It's a beautiful thing to sit here and watch this and to see the words of the Heavenly Father come to pass because he said that these things will happen. All right, so we're going to, watch a few clips here and there. A glance at a few clips, and then we're going to get into the precepts. All right. So this is posted 7 days ago. It says why U.S. and Israel can't stop Iran's Kibar Shakan missile. All right. Why the U.S. and Israel can't stop Iran's Kibar Shakan missile. I believe that's how you pronounce it. But I'm going to play it to about the 2 minute and 8 second mark. And we'll see, go to the Spirit, see where it goes there. I got some precepts lined up.
Now, who would have thought that in the ongoing Iran war, the most dangerous weapon isn't necessarily the biggest or the fastest or the stealthiest, but the smartest, a missile that can think for itself and make independent course corrections mid-flight, a weapon that can be launched quickly, one that can be hidden easily, one that can be built cheaply. We're talking about Khyber Shekan, a missile so cheap, accurate and lethal that it is giving US military planners sleepless nights. Our next report tells you more.
Sometimes the most dangerous weapon in a war isn't the one with the largest explosions, but the one that keeps enemies awake at night, a weapon that gives anxiety to adversaries and makes them think, where will the next one come from? That is the power of Iran's Khyber Shekan, a missile so unique it has become a weapon of uncertainty, not because it's the most expensive or stealthiest, but because it's turning out to be the smartest. The Khyber Shekan is Iran's medium-range ballistic missile. It means the castle breaker or the fortress buster. This missile has a range of up to 1,500 kilometers. It carries a 550-kilogram high explosive warhead and is guided by satellites. The Khyber Shekan is launched from trucks, and the entire setup from fueling to launch takes just 15 minutes. The cost of each missile is just $1 million, earning it the nickname the $1 Million Kill Shot. And this missile is extremely unpredictable. It has a maneuverable re-entry vehicle, which means that the warhead can shift its trajectory in the final stage.
Now I want you to pay attention to this trajectory. All right. And you see the pattern. See see how it moves, all right, which makes this thing difficult, basically to counter, all right, with the U.S. Patriot system, the THAADs. It makes it very difficult to intercept these missiles because its trajectory, its pattern, it moves.
Of flight. During its final stage, the missile reaches hypersonic speeds of Mach 8, which is 8 times the speed of sound. The warhead has special movable fins attached to it, which allows it to course correct mid-flight.
And that's pretty much all I want to stop at that. So look at that trajectory. All right, goes up and down. All right. We're going to get to the precepts real fast. Yeah. Okay, yep. And we get the precepts. Revelation 9, verse 12, KJV to the left, it says, one war was past. And as we know, the breakdown, that's a world war. All right, World War I is past, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter, so a total of 3. All right, so the Second World War passed, and we are in the Third World War. All right, it says, and the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar, which is before the Most High, saying to the 6th angel, which had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. All right, and that river is drying up. It says, and the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day. And that's what's happening right now. The angels of the Lord are over there stirring up the east, what they call the Middle East. All right, they're stirring it up. That's why these things are turning up. That's why the war has widened from just U.S. Just from Iran and Israel to other people are now getting involved because the angels were loosed. This is the time. It says, for an hour and a day and a month and a year to slay the 3rd part of men. And the 3rd part of men is Esau, Edom, the wicked, the so-called white man, starting with that little small state over there. All right, in America. All right, primarily. All right, but Esau, Edom, ultimately, the 3rd part of men. Okay, which is the wicked, the 3 classifications of men, the sons of God. All right, the sons of men, which are the other nations, and specifically the sons of the wicked. And we can clearly see who the wicked is today, and it's all being publicized throughout the world. Who the wicked is, you know, who's the face of what you call terrorism. It says the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. And this is describing the missiles. Okay. And Iran does a certain launch where it's called a swarm, where there's with drones or missiles. All right. Where these projectiles, they basically go into a formation. They're launched a barrage at once. They call it a barrage of missiles launched at once. So that's how these nuclear missiles are going to be shot off. So 200 million missiles, all right, and one ICBM is capable of carrying more than 1 warhead, okay? And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them having breastplates of fire and of ginseng and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issue fire and smoke and brimstone. And you always ask yourself, you know, as the prophets are here to break these things down to you, there's no animal like that exists. All right, a horse and had a head of a lion. All right, and fire and brimstone. And these are he's describing the nuclear missiles. All right, and by these were the 3rd part of man killed by the fire and by the smoke, and that's what these missiles create when they detonate. It says, and by the brimstone. Okay, and that terminology, the brimstone. How did ancient Sodom and Gomorrah go out? How did the Most High destroy ancient Sodom and Gomorrah? By fire and brimstone. All right, it says, which issued out of their mouths, which is the warhead. All right, that's the part of the missile that does the damage. All right, and it's in front. Be considered like the mouth. It says, for their power is in their mouth, the warheads, and in their tails. For their tails were like unto serpents, and heads, and with them they do hurt. Because also the head too, the serpent is the fang and the poison in his mouth. Okay, but the tails, well, remember I told you to remember that. So what makes this missile fly like that? You would call it basically the tail end, where the rocket is. All right, and it goes in the same pattern as a serpent. And I searched it up right here. Serpent tracks. And that's exactly how those missiles, all right, the trajectory to those missiles right there. This was a good example, right? That serpent type movement, that pattern. Okay, you see it? And that's just how that missile has traveled. Travels the same way. And I truly believe that they got this this blueprint or this technology from Russia. All right, because Russia was talking about creating these type of missiles over a decade ago, because the NATO was basically moving in on Russia's border. All right, putting missile defense systems in different places in Europe. Okay, so Russia said we was gonna make a missile that can evade any missile defense system, and this was part of one of the strategies, I should say, that will be able to do that. And as they say, why U.S. and Israel can't stop Iran's Khibar Shakan missile, right? It's intelligent. Moves in that, and hey man, look, for their tails are like unto serpents, and they had heads, and with them they do hurt. All right, so this is what's going to bring forth that third woe, these missiles, but it's just going to be ICBMs, all right, intercontinental ballistic. These are just short range and medium range missiles right now, and who knows, man, what Iran has, what they're creating. You know, they might have long range missiles, or they might be making them, or they might get them from Russia. All right. Because they haven't even brought out their best missiles yet. All right.
The missile is specifically engineered to bypass, confuse, and overwhelm air defense systems. That's why the Iranians call the missile the hypersonic zigzagger.
So they call it the zigzagger. Okay.
Iran has more than 2,000.
And that's just how a serpent moves, man. Like that zigzagging motion. You can't say the scriptures ain't on point.
Khyber-Shikan missiles, and this has proved to be one of the most lethal weapons of the ongoing war. With a range of 1,500 kilometers, the Khyber-Shikan has struck U.S. military assets at the Mubafik Salti Air Base in Jordan. The missile reportedly destroyed America's most prized air defense system, the Terminal High Altitude.
Most prized air defense missile system, because of the way it moves, man. And think about it. Russia has these missiles with the same type of capabilities, but long range, that's able to do the same thing. Okay, that's able to evade those missile defense systems in the same manner, but it's just long range.
Air defense, or THUD. A drone repair depot for MQ-9 Reapers was also flattened. In Kuwait, Patriot Air Defense.
Oh, yeah, those Reapers too. You know, like I said, I've been going into these things, man. All right, just going into the details.
What we're looking at here is an Iranian 359 missile. This secret weapon and a very similar version called the 358 are thought to be behind the loss of $1 billion worth of US kit during the Iran war. There are even rumors that one managed to hit an F-35 fighter, one of the most advanced jets ever created.
So again, Iran has these missiles. America lost 24 Reaper drones. Now, when you go into this type of stuff worked in Iraq, because they use these Reaper drones heavily in like Iraq, Afghanistan, I believe. Okay, and this works with a country that doesn't have any missiles. Okay, that's an underdeveloped country, so to say, that doesn't have modern technology. So that worked back then. But here it is, Iran. Clearly see Iran is up to speed. All right. But the Reaper drones was taken out, man. And the guy, he was going into it. And I don't want to, go too much into it. 11 minutes 58 seconds. He's just posted in the last couple of months or so. And this one too, I'm gonna get some more precepts. How Iran built
somewhere beneath the mountain.
All right. And he goes into it, how Iran built hundreds of underground missile cities inside mountains. And man, with help from, they say even North Korea, they were used to building these type of bunkers, or so to say, making these kind of tunnels. They even said they had Chinese help, building these things. So, and as they were going into it, they said this is most sophisticated and advanced, basically tunnels any modern civilization has ever built. All right. So, some good stuff, just going into it, because, Iran they're doing their thing, man. All right. They are doing their thing. So let's get to 2nd Ezra 15, verse 28. It says, behold, an horrible vision and the appearance from the east. All right. And it's hot in the east right now. Okay. It says, wherefore the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots. So simply put, and our apostles have been on point teaching us these things, man. Let's see. Arabia, right? So you go to, Saudi Arabia, and check this out too. Saudi Arabia is helping the U.S. right now. Okay, we see that, but when you go into it, it's really the Saudi prince is just a small percentage. Like you have that 1%. It's really just a small percentage of these Saudi Arabians, which is the princes, the guys up at the top that's really down with helping America, so on and so forth. But the population, the mass population, they want America out of there. And that goes for Iraq, Afghanistan, so on and so forth. But here it is, when you go to nations, it says includes Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Oman, United Arabs, Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, plus parts of Iraq and Jordan. And these nations, these what they call them the Gulf states, they're suffering because they have U.S. bases. So eventually what's happening, because right now you see them pulling out of Iraq, America pulling out of Iraq, and that's what the masses of the people want them up out of there, right? So eventually all these nations are going to come together according to prophecy, okay? Because again, the mass majority of people want them out of there. It's just the guys at the top that benefits from all the money. That's why you got the Saudi princes, videos of Lambos being left in a desert, gold toilets, and all types of shit, man. We've been seeing those dudes flex on the internet over the years, right? Building skyscrapers and just living it up. And that's from all the oil exports. Okay? So real fast, so the dragons of Arabia, all right, where the nation of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, all right, their military equipment, okay? It says, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. That this is a time of that vengeance, man. All right? These nations over there in the east, these Arabian nations, okay, they've been getting, Esau been sticking it to them. Okay? The Greater Israel Project knocked off all those nations Iran was supposed to be the last one. But see, now they withdraw from Iraq. They finna come at those small hats, man, in America. It says also the Carmanians. So, as we always do, we'll put that in there. All right. Carmanians were ancient warlike tribal people who lived in Carmania, a historical region corresponding to modern-day Kerman province in southeastern Iran. Okay? So the Arabs and Iranians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars in the woods. So that wild boar, right? They doing their thing, man. From these drones to these missiles, they getting off. Okay? They are getting off. That's what the Lord has raised up. So this is a prophecy being fulfilled. So that's why America is nothing that they can do. All right. The next move that they have on the table concerning this war, because the airstrikes clearly ain't working. They only have 2 moves left. All right. One, put boots on the ground. And then the last move they have is to just basically nuke Iran. And once they do that, that's the green light for everybody else to launch their nukes. That's what's gonna happen. That's gonna be the end all be all. All right. As we always get. I'll come back to this. All right. I'll come back to this. 2nd Ezra 15. Come back to that. And see Isaiah, the 6th chapter. Is it? Yeah, the 6th. It's one we always go to, and here it is. I'm having I can't find it right now. It's me. Man, I'm gonna be mad at myself. Yeah, 9 and 5, sorry. For every battle of the war is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. Okay, so this is gonna be the war fought with fire, man. All right, all at the end, all be all. Okay, so go back to 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, and we'll close it out. Try to make these lessons short and straight to the point. 15 and 30, that's where we left off. And also the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come. And what the Lord didn't lie, they coming with great power. The U.S. again is having a hard time stopping these missiles. This is enjoying battle with them and shall waste a portion of the land of the Syrians. And the modern day Syrians is America. Now, rather again, Iran either has long range weapons and they're not showing people, or they could be in the middle of developing them, right? But nonetheless, U.S. military bases will be considered, all right, U.S. territory, so to say, all right? So they're wasting a portion of the land of the Syrians. They doing all the good work, the groundwork for Russia and China, okay? Because America's dominance is done in the Middle East. So that's that portion, it's done. So, and that makes everything very difficult trying to uphold dominance in that region. Because I was watching a certain analyst, he said, domestically, the regional powers domestically would be Iran and Turkey. And then, outside of that, the ones that's not domestic will be China and Russia. All right, they will basically control that region. Domestically, of course, Iran and Turkey, because they the ones live there. But Russia and China will dominate that region, man. Because Iran just destroyed all their military bases. Okay? It says, and then shall the dragons have the upper hand. So they're going to win. Okay? Remembering their nature. It said, Ishmael is a wild man. Okay? That's his nature. It says, and if they shall turn themselves, conspire together in great power to persecute them. To persecute them. So that's getting ready to happen. So, I believe that's pretty much it. Right, as the war kick off, Iran doing their thing as prophesied.
Now, who would have thought?
All right, they doing their thing. America again, they only have the two moves left on the board: ground troops and nukes. Which, is my opinion. I believe ground troops will come before there's any nuclear weapons, deployed, so to say. But my opinion is, of course, ground troops to get slaughtered, end up losing badly. The only option is to nuke them. And that's going to be it, man. All right, but before all these things, we know the mark of the beast has to be made mandatory. Okay? So I'm going to leave it there, Lord willing. This was edifying, giving all praise, glory unto Yahweh Shai. Double honors to apostles, great millstone, peace, love, and blessings to the elect. Shalom.